The movie starts off with a peculiar little girl staring at the sun while standing outside her school. She seems to be hearing some sort of voices as she stares at the sky. Soon after, the teacher calls everyone to go back inside the school. But the girl, who we find out is named Lucinda, is too lost in the voices and doesn't respond. The movie cuts off to inside the classroom, with the teacher telling the children about a particular event the students had volunteered for. Apparently, Lucinda won the event. After cheering Lucinda on, the teacher tells the student that they're going to be creating a time capsule, and then draw a picture of what they think the future will look like, which they can put in the time capsule. As the teacher goes to check Lucinda's work, she notices that Lucinda is writing something instead of drawing a picture. When she comes to check what Lucinda is writing, she notices that she's writing what appears to be arbitrary numbers. Not thinking much of it, the teacher takes away her paper and puts it in the time capsule. Cut to the principal announcing the time capsule and how future generations can open it up for a glimpse into the past. As the time capsule ceremony is taking place, we see that Lucinda, who was sitting on the sidelines, disappears for some reason. We cut to the authorities being alerted and them looking for her all over and inside the school. Lucinda's teacher, who was also a part of the search party looking for her, hears scratching coming from the janitor's closet. As she opens the door, she finds Lucinda with blood-soaked fingers and some numbers carved on the door. At this point, Lucinda tells the teacher to make them stop, likely referring to the voices she's hearing. After this, we cut away to the intro credits of the movie, and then we see John Kessler showing his son, Caleb, Saturn's rings while frying some hot dogs. They're discussing if there could be signs of life somewhere in the universe. His son is likely on the spectrum, as he decides he wants to be a vegan at such a young age. Caleb also has issues hearing, as he wears a hearing aid. We find out that Caleb's mom had died some time ago, and that the two are still devastated about it. After putting Caleb to bed, John goes to have a late-night drink and contemplate things. While doing so, he notices a wrapped gift sitting on a shelf, which troubles him for some reason. Soon after, cut to next morning, and we find John teaching as a professor in Massachusetts Institute of Technology. John begins to discuss various topics with his students. At first starting off with the random and deterministic nature of the universe, and then moving to asking his students about the sun. He asks some questions about the sun's composition, and then asks them what led to the sun being placed at such a place, at a particular distance from the earth. He says these things must be determined, but there is also a random nature to the universe, where there is no purpose and no meaning to these things happening. This troubles John for some reason, so he dismisses his class. At this point, a fellow professor joins in and asks John what's going on in his life. The two of them have a little bit of a chat, and the professor invites John to a party at home. John remembers that he has to go to Caleb's ceremony at his school, which, coincidentally, is the same school that Lucinda was in. At the ceremony, we see the principal announcing 50 years have passed since the time capsule was locked away. We also see that Lucinda's teacher, Miss Taylor, is still alive. As they pull out the time capsule, the students go crazy and flock to get an envelope. Caleb also goes to get one from the time capsule, and, of course, he's the one to receive Lucinda's time capsule. He finds the page full of numbers, and as he stares at the numbers, he notices a man staring at him. The man disappears after Caleb loses his focus for a bit. Back at home, John notices Lucinda's note of numbers in Caleb's backpack. John tells Caleb that he wasn't not supposed to bring it with him, and that he should return it tomorrow. After a while, we see John drinking and watching some Discovery Channel. He takes a look at the note of numbers Lucinda had written, and tries to find some meaning in it. He begins writing the first set of numbers, and finds out that the numbers aren't random at all. Instead, they're a set of dates. With the first date being the historic 9/11/01, along with another number, 2996. Which is the number of lives that were lost that day. John clears some space in another room, and begins to write down the whole of the note on a whiteboard, and then begins to search the different dates. Apparently, each date lists a particular disaster or event that happened in the past. All the way from natural man-made disasters to terrorist attacks and bombings. Each date also has the exact number of people that were killed on that particular day. As John finds more and more dates of events, he notices that it's not just past events that are mentioned, there are future dates written there too. Cut to next morning, John drops off Caleb at school and goes to discuss his findings with Phil, his colleague from yesterday. He tells him what he believes, and how this document can predict the future. He denies of course, but John says that how can anyone predict something like this? The two of them argue, with Phil saying that even if it's true, but what about the numbers that John hasn't outlined? Seeing Phil as a lost cause, John leaves. John goes to meet with Miss Taylor, Lucinda's teacher. Taylor tells John about the events of the day the time capsule was buried, and how she was an odd kid back in the day. John asks if he can meet with Lucinda, but she tells him that Lucinda died a while back. Back at home, we see a mysterious car pull up at John's home, giving Caleb a peculiar black rock. John rushes out to confront them, but they leave by the time John comes out. He asks Caleb who they were, and Caleb responds by saying that they're no one. Back inside, John starts searching for Lucinda's death when he gets a visit from Grace, his sister. We get some expository dialogue about John's dad and how John and his dad aren't at the best of terms. Grace tells John that he should settle things with his dad so Caleb can have grandparents and more people to spend time with, but he denies. After Grace leaves, John's sitting at home watching the news when he hears news of another tragedy that just happened. John falls asleep watching the news, and gets woken up by a call from Caleb asking him when he's coming to pick him up. John says he's sorry, and that he'll come pick him up soon. Outside, John gets stuck in traffic, and decides to apologize to Phil for freaking out yesterday to pass the time. As he's sending Phil a message, he notices the latitude and longitude numbers on his car, and matches it with the numbers on Lucinda's note. He realizes that the coordinates of Caleb's current location are the same coordinates he's at now. He gets out of the car and asks to see what happened that caused the traffic jam, only to have a plane come crashing just a few meters from him. This was the tragedy that was mentioned in Lucinda's note. Back at home, John comes home to find Grace at his home. Grace asks John what happened, but John focuses more on the news. We find out that the number of people that died were 81. The exact number of people mentioned in the note. He tells Caleb and Grace that he's going to bed. John decides to research a bit more on today's tragedy, when he gets a visit from Phil. The two of them go over Lucinda's note again. Phil tries to make sense of the numbers, but John is too shaken up about it to see reason. John thinks that these numbers seem like a warning. A warning to John. Phil tells him that his scientific mind is telling him to drop it, and that John should do the same. After a while, when Phil leaves and John goes to bed, we see a mysterious man staring at John's house. The movie cuts to inside of Caleb's room, and we see the man walk towards Caleb, and point at the window. As he points at the window, the voices start growing louder, and light starts coming from the window. Caleb gets up to check out what's causing the light, only to find the whole area on fire, with hundreds of animals on fire. Caleb screams, and John rushes to his room to find him hunched down near the window, crying. As John comforts Caleb, he notices the man standing outside, staring at the window. John picks up a bat and goes out to confront him, but, obviously, the man is nowhere to be found. The next morning, John is taking Caleb somewhere when he notices a particular woman. He decides to chase after her, which leads them to a museum of sorts. John tells Caleb to go talk with the daughter of the woman he was chasing. John talks with the woman he chased, who names herself Diana. He makes some small chat with her, and the four of them go to get drinks. At the bar, John tells Diana that their meeting wasn't a chance meeting, and that he wants to talk to her about her mother, Lucinda. He tells her about the note Caleb got from the time capsule, and how he thinks it can predict future events. This makes Diana freak out for some particular reason that's probably necessary to move the plot forward, and Diana quickly gets up and leaves, taking her daughter Abby with her. John pleads with her to help him, but she says that she can't, and leaves. Back at home, John is seen taking out a gun he had kept locked and loads it in case something bad happens. As he's doing this, we notice the same man that was creeping around their house staring at the house again. This time, there are others with him. John takes Caleb to Grace's house, and tells her to watch over him. After dropping off Caleb at Grace's house, John goes to New York at the place the tragedy is going to take place. He also calls and informs the FBI of where the attack will take place, but they obviously don't pay much heed to him. Now in New York, at the exact place the attack is supposed to take place, John looks for a possible sign of the tragedy, and tries to find some way to stop the tragedy before it happens. He tries talking to a police officer about sealing off the intersection, but she doesn't pay much heed to him. Seeing it as a dead end, John tries to take it upon himself to find out what could cause the problem. He goes to the subway, and notices a suspicious man carrying something underneath his shirt. John gives chase, through the subway and into the train that just stopped. At this point, some police officers notice the two and chase after them. With the help of the police, John catches the thief, but it turns out to be a lost cause as the guy was only carrying some stolen DVDs. Meanwhile, Another train just got derailed, and comes crashing into the subway, into the train John was in. Countless people die, but John survives. He even manages to save someone. Though he still wasn't able to stop the tragedy from happening. After getting out of the scene of tragedy, John makes his way home. John calls Grace and tells her that he'll pick Caleb up soon. After picking up Caleb, he goes home to find Diana and Abby waiting outside their house. Diana tells John that her mother, Lucinda, used to talk about October 19th all the time. And that it was the date she would die. The four of them get in the car and head off somewhere. On the way, Diana and John talk a bit about their lives. John tells Diana how his wife, Allison, died. He tells Diana that Allison died in a fire, and he was somewhere else at that time. He tells her how people say that you're supposed to feel when someone you love is in danger, but he tells her that he didn't feel anything. That moment made him realize that life is completely random, and no one can truly know something for sure. John asks Diana about Lucinda once again. John parks the car in the woods near a hidden house. As they're walking towards it, Diana notices something on Lucinda's note, a set of numbers written backwards. She tells John that the number isn't 33, but rather 2S. After this, the two of them go inside, and we find out that this used to be Lucinda's house. We find out that Lucinda died of overdose. Diana also tells John that Lucinda kept hearing voices in her head, voices that told her terrible things. She says that Lucinda had moved out here in this house to get ready. But she didn't know what that meant. The two of them explore more of the house, and find a hidden room with snippets of newspapers. Each one a different tragedy. As they look around, John notices a religious picture taped to the wall. A picture that Lucinda used to stare at for hours. As they explore more of the house, they end up in the room where Lucinda died of overdose. Just as they're about to leave, John stumbles upon a peculiar rock on the floor. The same rock that the mysterious men had given to Caleb. At the same time, we cut to Caleb and Abby waking up in the car and being surrounded by the men from before. As the men surround the car, John and Diana discover markings beneath Lucinda's bed. Apparently, the 2S meant everyone else. Caleb pushes the car's horns and John and Diana rush outside. After seeing that Caleb and Abby are safe, John notices one of the men walking into the woods. He picks up his gun and gives chase. He finds the man standing in a clearing, and asks him what he wants with his son. The man, however, doesn't respond. He simply opens up his mouth and light comes out of it. This works similar to a flashbang, blinding John. When John comes, he is gone. Back at home, John and Diana realize that the 2S mean that everyone else is going to die. Feeling hopeless, the two of them embrace, and then head off to sleep with their children. John talks to Caleb, and Caleb tells John that he can sometimes hear the men whispering to him at some times. Caleb asks John if he's going to die, but John comforts him and says that he will never let anything harm him. The next morning, John comes to find Abby drawing on the religious picture they found before, and Abby reveals that the object in the picture is the sun. Realizing something, John takes the others and goes to MIT. Back in his office, John and Phil observe the sun. They run a simulation which reveals that a super flare is about to happen, which will end up killing everyone and everything on the planet. Thinking that there's nothing he can do to the sun, John loses all hope. He tells Phil to go home, and be with his family. John goes to talk with Diana, who heard all of this. Diana asks that they can survive if they can hide underground, and they can try some of the caves Diana knows. The four of them go back home and begin packing, but as Caleb goes to pack his things, his hearing aid starts to malfunction. Meanwhile, John decides to finally unwrap the gift that was sitting on his shelf. It was a gift from his wife, with a little locket inside of it with a picture of their family. This makes John emotional, and John calls his dad and tries to set things right. He tells him that the heat that they're experiencing isn't normal. He tells him to get whatever supplies he can and go underground. But he doesn't believe John and shuts the phone off. John goes to pick up Caleb, who was writing random numbers. Similar to what Lucinda was doing. John takes everyone and drives to the elementary school Lucinda used to be in. He finds the janitor's closet Lucinda was locked in, and tries to find the numbers she had written on the door. Of course, the door has been repainted, so John rips the door off and finds the final set of numbers. He finally finds the final set of numbers, which turn out to be coordinates. But, since Diana didn't have much faith in John, she had already driven away in her car. John goes out to find them. Diana stops at a fuel station to get something, but soon after, the mysterious men take away Caleb and Abby in Diana's car. Diana gives chase in someone else's car, but ends up in an accident with a truck, which knocks her out. Eventually, John finds Diana in an ambulance. Unfortunately, Diana flatlines and dies. John pays his respects, and head off to the final coordinates which lead him to somewhere in the woods. Soon after, John finds Diana's car parked in the forest. John gets out and starts looking for his son, and finds the mysterious man standing there. Caleb comes soon after, and tells John that the mysterious men aren't evil. Caleb tells John that these men are the ones protecting them. John asks the men who they are, but they don't respond. At this point, supernatural things start happening. An impossible construct starts to appear from the sky, likely a spaceship. John, Abby, and Caleb go to get on the ship, but the man whispers something to Caleb. He tells Caleb that John can't come with them, only Caleb and Abby can. John realizes that this is the only way his son can survive, and after a heartfelt goodbye, he lets Caleb go. The men take Caleb and Abby away in their spaceship, and as the ships fly off into space, we see numerous other ships flying away from Earth. Meaning there were others that were chosen too. After they leave, John breaks down, and starts to cry. The next morning, John drives back to the city to find it devastated because of the pre-solar flare. Places burning and whatnot. John goes to his parents' house. And the two of them reunite. His father tells him that this isn't the end, and they share a heartfelt reunion as the world explodes. After an epilogue that shows Caleb and Abby on the surface of an Earth-like planet. The end.